Picture this: 5:42 a.m. Central European Time. The North Sea lies calm under the early morning darkness. But 200 kilometers off the Dutch coast, something sinister is unfolding. On radar screens at NATO's Allied Air Command in Ramstein, Germany, a routine blip suddenly transforms into a critical threat indicator. A vessel has just gone dark, its tracking system deliberately disabled in one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. This wasn't a malfunction. This was the opening move in one of the most sophisticated asymmetric warfare operations ever attempted against NATO territory. The ship in question? The Mount Baltic Star, or so it claimed, but NATO intelligence would soon uncover a chilling truth. Hidden beneath fresh paint and a false identity was the Mount Boraia vessel flagged by French intelligence just months earlier. The Boraia had used advanced eyes spoofing technology, transmitting fake signals claiming it was anchored in Singapore while it actually slipped undetected through the Suez Canal, penetrating deep into European waters. And now, 90 seconds after killing its transponder, the trap was sprung. Cargo containers on the Boraia's deck suddenly split open. What emerged wasn't commercial goods. It was a swarm of Iranian-designed Shahed 136 kamikaze drones, rising into the sky like a plague of locusts. Their targets? Rotterdam's critical port infrastructure and Germany's liquefied natural gas terminals, the energy arteries of Northern Europe. NATO had less than 20 minutes to respond. If these drones penetrated European defenses, the economic consequences would be catastrophic. But what Russia hadn't counted on was that the Pentagon had been preparing for exactly this scenario. To understand the magnitude of this threat, we need to examine Russia's shadow fleet strategy. As of early 2025, Russia operated approximately 600 aging oil tankers. On the surface, these were simply commercial vessels. But U.S. naval intelligence had long suspected these ships served a dual purpose. The Boraia incident confirmed their worst fears. Russia had quietly converted portions of this fleet into floating drone carriers and concealed missile platforms. Instead of spending billions on aircraft carriers that satellites could easily track, Moscow found a genius workaround: hide lethal military capabilities inside civilian merchant vessels protected by international maritime law. The asymmetric brilliance of this approach cannot be overstated. A single converted tanker could carry up to 500 kamikaze drones plus containerized cruise missiles, all while masquerading as a legitimate commercial ship that NATO couldn't legally intercept based on suspicion alone. Russia had weaponized Western adherence to international law. But the tactical positioning was equally ingenious. European air defense networks are predominantly oriented eastward, designed to intercept ballistic missiles from Russian territory. By attacking from the north from the sea, Russia had found NATO's blind spot. The front line was no longer at the border, it was now anywhere a merchant ship could sail. Allied Air Command immediately activated emergency protocols. German Typhoon and Dutch F-35A fighters scrambled from their bases. Within minutes, NATO's most advanced combat aircraft were racing toward the drone swarm. The NATO pilots began engaging with AIM-120 AMRA missiles. Explosions lit up the sky as the first wave of Shaheds were destroyed. But then, just 10 minutes in, a devastating problem emerged exactly as Russian planners had predicted. Each AIM-120D missile costs approximately $1.2 million. Each Shahed drone costs roughly $20,000. NATO was firing $60 worth of capability to destroy $1 worth of threat. Worse still, a standard F-35 carries only 6 missiles total. Even with perfect accuracy, a 4-ship squadron could only eliminate 24 drones before requiring rearming. Meanwhile, the Barai kept launching drones in seemingly endless waves. NATO's fire control systems were becoming overwhelmed. Using fighter jets to hunt individual drones was economic suicide. Moscow's asymmetric strategy was working exactly as planned. Recognizing the aerial stalemate, NATO shifted tactics. HMS Diamond, a Royal Navy Type 45 destroyer, received orders to intercept the Barai at maximum speed. The British plan, close to gun range and destroy the launch platform. But as Diamond closed to within 25 nautical miles, Russia activated their second trap. Containers on the Barai's deck revealed powerful electronic warfare systems. Instantly, Diamond's radar screens turned to white noise. GPS data became corrupted. The fire control computer couldn't establish an accurate targeting solution. Simultaneously, the Barai launched a protective screen of loitering munitions that forced Diamond to go defensive. Then came the most cynical move of all. The Barai deliberately changed course toward a Rotterdam-bound passenger ferry, closing to less than 500 meters. Russia was using hundreds of civilian lives as human shields. If Diamond opened fire with degraded sensors, the risk of hitting the passenger ship was unacceptably high. Complete tactical deadlock. At this critical moment, the United States Navy revealed the true depth of its preparation. A P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft had been silently orbiting at 30,000 feet since the incident began, mapping the entire electromagnetic spectrum. The Poseidon SAI-assisted systems isolated the specific control frequencies the Barai was using to coordinate its drone swarm. This data was instantly transmitted to EA-18G, Growler electronic warfare aircraft carrying the ALQ-249. next-generation Jamara weapon that uses precision electromagnetic beams to surgically penetrate enemy systems. U.S. electronic warfare officers began the most sophisticated cyber-physical attack in modern naval history. Instead of destroying the Shahed drones, they hijacked them. By injecting malicious code into the drone's control data streams, American operators took control of their navigation systems. In the sky above the North Sea, the deadly swarm suddenly halted mid-flight, then began flying in confused circles, colliding with each other, spiraling aimlessly, plunging into the sea. The drone threat was neutralized without firing a single conventional weapon, but the U.S. had one more card to play. American forces launched decoy drones programmed to emit the radar signature of B-1B, bombers apparently inbound to destroy the Borai, the Russian captain, seeing what appeared to be heavy bombers approaching, made a fatal decision in panic. He ordered activation of all concealed weapon systems. By opening fire, the Russian vessel had officially abandoned any pretense of civilian status. NATO could now engage legally. But the challenge remained. The Borai was still loaded with oil and explosives. A conventional strike would create an environmental disaster. The Pentagon deployed its trump card, a GM-158C Lhasa missiles equipped with experimental high-power microwave warheads instead of conventional explosives. Two F/A-18E Super Hornets launched these missiles from well beyond the Borai's defensive range. The LRASMs used their advanced AI to navigate autonomously, sea-skimming just meters above the waves. As they approached, both missiles detonated in the air directly above the Borai's command tower, releasing a focused beam of electromagnetic pulse energy powerful enough to fry every electronic circuit on the vessel. The effect was instantaneous and total. Radars went dark, missile controls crashed. The engine shut down. Navigation computers failed. And critically, the electronic fuses on all remaining weapons were permanently disabled. The Borai was now just a harmless drifting hulk, completely blind, deaf, and dead in the water. U.S. Navy SEALs and British SBS Special Forces teams fast-roped onto the darkened deck, executing a flawless boarding operation. They encountered virtually no resistance. The Russian crew, trapped in the dark with all systems collapsed, surrendered without incident. NATO tugboats towed the paralyzed Borai to port. The drone attack had been completely thwarted, not a single casualty. No damage to European infrastructure, total NATO victory, or was it? At the Pentagon and NATO headquarters, there were no celebrations. Because while Russia had lost this tactical engagement, they had achieved something far more valuable: proof of concept. The shadow fleet strategy works. A single converted merchant vessel operating under civilian cover had nearly crippled NATO energy infrastructure and forced the alliance to expose some of its most classified electronic warfare capabilities. The United States and its allies now face a strategic nightmare. How do you monitor and control 600 similar vessels operating across the world's oceans without destroying global maritime commerce? The American victory relied on technological surprise, advanced jamming systems, and microwave weapons the Russians didn't know existed, but those secrets are now exposed. Russian military intelligence is undoubtedly analyzing every second of this engagement to develop countermeasures. And it's not just Russia watching and learning. China, Iran, North Korea, every potential adversary is taking notes. The nature of naval warfare has fundamentally changed. The line between merchant ship and warship, between peacetime and war, has been irreversibly blurred. In this new era, victory doesn't go to whoever has the biggest guns or the most expensive fighters. Victory goes to whoever can turn the enemy into harmless scrap metal before they even realize they're under attack. The age of the Shadow Fleet has begun. What do you think? Could NATO defend against a coordinated Shadow Fleet attack across multiple theaters? How would you counter this threat? Share your analysis in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into modern military strategy and technology. Until next time, stay sharp.